Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. So we talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Rose Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. We just passed 800, 810, 820 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for all your support on this amazing journey, and I hope I can continue to make great content you guys will enjoy in the future. Now, the USFL, the season just keeps on rolling on, and we're now at week 4, and I'm going to go over every single game this week of the USFL season and who I preview and predict will win these week's games. Now, the first game on deck, we have the Houston Gamblers traveling on the road to the Philadelphia Stars, but this game is in Detroit, Michigan, so it's not going to really benefit either team that much with the home crowd. But the Houston Gamblers, they just got their first win of the USFL season. They're 1-2 now, and they beat the Memphis Showboats 30-26 this past week. They won by 4 points over the only team that has not won a game yet in the USFL. And Kenji Bahar, he was really solid last week. He was 22-36 for 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. It was one of his better games of the USFL season. If Kenji Bahar has stat lines like that, Houston will be very competitive in this game and in future games this season. But he also has struggled with turnover issues, so he will have to keep the turnovers at a minimum if Houston wants to win this game. Mark Thompson, he had 21 carries for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's finally playing at a high level for the Houston Gamblers now. That's his best performance by far in the young USFL season. He's a really solid running back, and he definitely has a lot of potential to have a lot of success this season. But until now, Houston has not had a great running game, but finally Mark Thompson was able to have a good game on the ground. Justin Hall, he had 6 receptions for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. So looking at Houston's offense, they play really solid against the Memphis Showboats, but besides playing against Memphis, Houston has not been a great football team so far this season. But maybe the Memphis win will be able to help them gain some momentum and be able to get this win as well. I think Houston overall is a team that is toward the bottom of the USFL, but their offense and defense is by no means the worst in the league, and I think that definitely the Memphis win could help spring some momentum for Houston. But they're going to have to play the Philadelphia Stars, who are also 1-2, and Philadelphia is one of the better teams in the league this past season, but they're really struggling this year, and last week they lost to the previously winless Pittsburgh Maulers 21-13 in that in-state rivalry. Philadelphia did not play well in that game, and Case Cookis, he was 23-36 for 238 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. And the problem for the Philadelphia Stars is Case Cookis, he's a really solid quarterback, and he was there last year for Philadelphia, and they had a great season, and he is a solid quarterback. But the problem is that Philadelphia's offensive line is not protecting him in any way, shape, or form. And Matt Colburn, the running back for Philadelphia, has 8 carries for 16 yards. That's not going to get it done when you have a running back that's not able to get any yards because the offensive line is not blocking, and they're also not protecting the quarterback as well, which is why Case Cookis is throwing more interceptions than he ever has before in the USFL because of the fact he is getting sacked and he's being rushed a lot, and that's causing some of his throws to be poor. Corey Coleman, he did have 8 receptions for 86 yards and a touchdown. He had a solid game when he was getting passes thrown to him by Case Cookis. But overall, I do think that the Philadelphia offense is a little bit broken right now because of the fact that their offensive line is not helping them at all. And their defense, they only gave up 21 points to the Pittsburgh Maulers. So I don't think their defense is one of the worst in the league. But Philadelphia, the ironic thing is their only win is over the Memphis Showboats as well in week 1 by 4 points. So you can make an argument that the Houston Gamblers and the Philadelphia Stars are an even-Steven team. They're both 1-2, and both of their wins are over the Memphis Showboats by 4 points. That is completely ironic there, but I do think that the Houston Gamblers look a little bit better right now as the season's gone along, whereas Philadelphia seems to be backsliding a bit, having just lost to the previously winless Pittsburgh Maulers. So I think that Houston might be able to carry this over, and neither team's going to have really the home field advantage since Houston got a win this past week. I think they're going to be able to carry it over to this week, and I'm going to go with the Houston Gamblers to beat the Philadelphia Stars in Detroit, Michigan, 21-17 for the Gamblers to move to 2-2 and the Stars to move to 1-3. Now on to our next game. We have the Memphis Showboats, who are 0-3, playing at the Michigan Panthers, who are 2-1, and this game is in Detroit, Michigan as well, so this should be a good home crowd for the Michigan Panthers. But the Memphis Showboats, they're 0-3, but they did have some signs of life in the Houston Gamblers loss, losing 30-26. They almost won that game and had several chances. And why is Memphis starting to play better? Because Cole Kelly is the new starting quarterback for Memphis. He was 21-38 for 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, and he had 4 carries for 17 yards. He has by far been the best quarterback for Memphis this season. He's played much better than Brady White and Ron Willis. So that's a great sign for the future for Memphis, and a good sign for the Houston Gamblers as well, that they were able to beat Memphis when they played better with Cole Kelly than the Philadelphia Stars did when they did not have Cole Kelly at quarterback yet for Memphis. So that's a good sign for Memphis that they are starting to improve overall, and I think that Cole Kelly is definitely going to be the quarterback for the rest of the season. season if he continues to play at a high level for Memphis. But the issue for the Showboats is they don't have any run game either, and their offensive line is awful as well, just like the Philadelphia Stars. Cole Kelly was the leading rusher for the Memphis Showboats. They had no running back get over 10 yards, and Ron McDaniel had 3 receptions for 71 yards and a touchdown. But Memphis, they have a quarterback now that can throw through the air, but hopefully he stays healthy and does not get sacked too much because of Memphis' offensive line. And I feel like Memphis' defense isn't bad, but they don't have one of the best defenses in the USFL, which is going to be an issue overall when they're trying to get wins. And Michigan, they're 2-1, and they were looking like one of the best teams in the USFL, but they did lose last week 28-13 to the New Jersey Generals. But this game will be at home, so they will have the crowd on their side. Josh Love, he was 15-31 for 101 yards and an interception. It was one of his worst performances that he's had in the USFL in the combined time he's been at the Pittsburgh Maulers and the Michigan Panthers. He did not play that well, but Carson Strong came in, was 4-9 for 62 yards and a touchdown. So if Josh Love is the starting quarterback for the Michigan Panthers next week, he's going to have to play at a much higher level if he wants to keep the starting job. Stevie Scott had 12 carries for 63 yards. Reggie Corbin was solid on the ground as well. Both running backs keep flip-flopping on which player rushes for more yards in a game, so it's really interesting there for Michigan. They have a competitive running back room. And Trey Quinn, he had 5 receptions for 61 yards and a touchdown. I think the Michigan Panthers offense is solid. Their offensive line is actually a bit weak as well, which is a common theme in the USFL. Most of these teams do have weak offensive lines, but I do feel like Michigan on both sides of the ball is a better football team than Memphis. And even though Memphis is starting to improve with Cole Kelly, it is at Michigan, and the home crowd should help as well. I do think the Michigan Panthers will find a way to bounce back, but the Memphis Showboats will not go away without a fight. But I do think Michigan will win 24-14 over the Memphis Showboats, and the Michigan Panthers will move to 3-1, and the Memphis Showboats will unfortunately stay winless. Now on to our potential game of the week. You have the New Orleans Breakers, who are 3-0, traveling on the road to the New Jersey Generals, who are 2-1. It's going to be in Canton, Ohio, so I don't think either team is going to really have that home field advantage. But the New Orleans Breakers are 3-0, and they have potentially taken over as the top team in the league now that they did defeat the Birmingham Stallions 45-31 last week. That was a really big win, and they won at Birmingham as well with their home crowd. Insane there. New Orleans is looking really good, and McLeod Bethel Thompson is a big reason why. He was 20 of 28 for 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. He's coming over from the Canadian Football League, and he's playing some extremely high-level football. Some of the best quarterback play of any team in the USFL. And Wesley Hills, he had 34 carries for 191 yards and 3 touchdowns, and you see what difference it makes when you have a good offensive line. Wesley Hills was able to gain a lot of yards on the ground against the Birmingham Stallions, who usually have a vaunted defense. Wesley Hills had a lot of carries for a lot of yards, and Jonathan Adams had 6 receptions for 75 yards and a touchdown. New Orleans is humming right now, and I do think that New Jersey will be a team that will provide a tall task for New Orleans, but New Orleans is playing some great football right now. But New Jersey, they won last week 28-13 over the Michigan Panthers. So New Jersey, if they play at a high level, maybe they will be able to upset New Orleans. DeAndre Johnson, he was 10 of 15 for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he had 10 carries for 98 yards and a touchdown. It was by far his best performance of the season for the New Jersey Generals. He had a great game at quarterback. Darius Victor, 9 carries for 68 yards and a touchdown. And Jamon Moore, 1 reception for 72 yards and a touchdown. What a reception it is when you can only have 1 reception for 72 yards, and it's a touchdown as well. So New Jersey, they had some good things going on offense last week, and I really believe that their defense is starting to play much better than they were at the beginning of the season. And it seems like New Jersey's starting to figure out the offense with DeAndre Johnson at quarterback, whereas they were really missing Louis Perez at the beginning of the season, but they're starting to figure out DeAndre Johnson and play at a much higher level. I think New Jersey actually will make this a really close game, but New Orleans, they are rolling. They're playing some great football, and I think that they want to continue to be the only undefeated team in the USFL and be able to keep that top spot away from the Birmingham Stallions. I think the New Orleans Breakers are going to move to 4-0 and beat the New Jersey Generals 31-28 in Canton, Ohio, but I do think it will be a really close game and potentially the game of the week, nonetheless. And the final game of the week for USFL slate, you have the Birmingham Stallions, who finally just dropped a game to the New Orleans Breakers. They're 2-1, and they're traveling on the road to the Pittsburgh Maulers, who are 1-2. This game is in Canton, Ohio as well. And last week, Birmingham finally lost 45-31 to the New Orleans Breakers on their own field. That was a really tough loss that maybe could shatter some of their confidence, but Alex McGough, he was still 17-26 for 238 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He had a pretty solid game. Still, I think that Birmingham is missing Jamar Smith, who's out for the season, but Alex McGough is still a serviceable quarterback. CJ Marable, 6 carry for 24 yards and a touchdown, and Davion Davis, 5 receptions for 123 yards and a touchdown. I don't think Birmingham's offensive line is doing as good of a job as they did last season, and Birmingham gave up 45 points on defense to the New Orleans Breakers. That is not that good, but I don't know if they're going to have to worry about that too much because Pittsburgh's offense is not rolling right now. But Pittsburgh, they're now 1-2 and not in the winless column like the Memphis Showboats anymore, because last week they did beat the Philadelphia Stars 21-13. Maybe that will give them some momentum to help them beat the Birmingham Stallions. Troy Williams, he was 10 of 18 for 96 yards, a touchdown, and 7 carries for 65 yards. He had a solid game all around, but it wasn't an explosive game on the offensive end. He kind of just got by without making mistakes to be able to beat the Philadelphia Stars. He will have to have a better game if they want to beat Birmingham. Garrett Groshek at 15 carries for 40 yards, and Bailey Gaither 4 receptions for 30 yards and a touchdown. I think if Pittsburgh plays a mistake-free game, they could beat the Birmingham Stallions, but I don't know if they're going to have enough offense, and still Birmingham is a really good offensive team. And even though Birmingham's defense really struggled against the New Orleans Breakers, New Orleans offense is much better than Pittsburgh. I feel like Birmingham's going to find a way to bounce back and beat the Pittsburgh Maulers, and I'm going to go with the Birmingham Stallions to beat the Pittsburgh Maulers 28-14 for the Stallions to move to 3-1 to try to regain their footing, and for the Pittsburgh Maulers to fall to 1-3. Now those are the Week 4 USFL games. Should be some great games this week. I think the game of the week will be between the New Orleans Breakers and the New Jersey Generals, but I'm going to go with the Houston Gamblers, the Michigan Panthers, the New Orleans Breakers, and the Birmingham Stallions to all get wins this week, and it should be very interesting to see what happens in these Week 4 USFL games. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about the Week 4 USFL games and what you think about my picks and which teams you think will end up winning these Week 4 games. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.